Hello and welcome to another Ask Your Mentor Anything Live. Today we have Sónia Tavares with us, and our topic is going to be the one that you see below us, the importance of Code of Ethics and CPD for translators. But of course, we are going to expand with ISO because you've asked us so. And Sónia also considers it's a very important part of quality assurance in our work. So for those that you're watching us for the first time, those are weekly. Usually on Friday lives, so we are live with you every Friday on a specific topic related to the business side of the translation profession. And we broadcast in the Mentoring for Translators Facebook group. It's a free community. So if you're not yet a member of that community, totally recommend you to just sign up. It's totally free, and we always have the nice discussion. Apart from that, of course, we broadcast live on YouTube and LinkedIn. And thank you, Sónia, for accepting my invitation. Welcome to our live sessions. And if you would like to introduce yourself to those that they might not know you already.
Yes, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Okay, my name is Sónia. I'm Portuguese. I've been living in Germany since 2016. I have been working as a translator for 20 years now, more than 20 years. And also as a mentor, especially for technical translations. So my mentees are wanting to get in that specific area, so I provide support.
Technical translation specifically.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and so I started translating when I was taking my degree in languages. I was offered a translation project for a bus. Was a very big project. And it was a challenge. I didn't know for sure how it was going to be, but I had all support from that client. So I decided to go ahead. I tried it. I loved it. The client was happy and started sending me other projects. And then I said to me, I think this could work. I like doing this. So I joined Translators Cafe and Prosy community. So I started networking. 20 years ago, we had no Facebook, no LinkedIn, nothing was there at the moment. So our networking has been done through Prosy and colleagues more directly.
Yeah, and also I assume that there was less competition than nowadays, and the financial situation was before the crisis, so maybe there are pros and cons there also. Yes. In some aspects. Yes. So you already mentioned how you started out, so which is usually my most common question. So your first client was a result of what? A reference?
Yes. I was taking my degree, and this person knew that I was taking the German-Portuguese variant. So they asked me if I would be able to help them. So I knew this person, and I was recommended because I was studying in this field. So
thank you for saying that, because I really encourage new graduates and new translators to let your circle, network, family members what you do, because you never know where the first project will come. And based on my research, usually comes from family, environment, or friends, or referrals the first time. And we tend to neglect to tell what we do or what we are studying. So we can start from that point. As you mentioned already, you found your clients, your first client that way. So you remember your first translation project. You remember how you did start out as a translator. Do you remember any scale-up moment, the moment that you felt really satisfied in terms of projects that you undertake, and also income, that you felt a bit of freedom, if we can say, financially?
Yes. So when I started, I was taking my degree, and I had a part-time job, so to pay for my studies. So I had worked for many years, and then when I decided to get married, I was still working in this part-time job and working as a freelancer. When I had my baby, my first baby, my daughter,
can I ask one question?
Yes.
Can I ask one? The part-time job was relevant to the translation business, or was it relevant?
I learned a lot there, but was in a computer store.
Okay. Sales, so administration,
sales. Sales, yes, sales. So it was not much relevant. And when I had my baby, I decided that I wanted to be full-time translator. But as you know, in the beginning, we cannot start full-time because we have bills to pay, and in the beginning we don't have the income available for that, so I had to keep the other job. But then when I had my baby, I was further in my career, so I decided it's the moment. I have the baby here, so I need to stay at home, provide some support, and my mother was there also. Otherwise I couldn't work with the baby. But in that time was when I decided, no, this is my full-time and I don't want to change. So I decided, it was in 2005.
How many years you were in the business by then? Do you remember how many years you were translating as a part-time, full-time?
5 years. 5 years. By then I was 5 years. Yeah. I joined the Portuguese Translators Association in 2004. So I was already working 4 years. So.
And you remember that as a scale-up moment because you actually turned by being a part-time translator to a full-time translator. And do you remember how long did it take you to actually make a living out of translation? And did you continue to actually working with agencies, or did you enter the direct clients market right away?
I have some direct clients, old clients, but I do prefer working with agencies.
Okay, up to now, until today.
Yes, yes. I have direct clients, but with agencies, it's much easier. So they take care of all those bureaucratic things and DTP problems, and then the file doesn't open and all those complicated things. I prefer working in the translation itself and not being worried, okay, I have to format this to an editable text. I have to make the count the words. But I don't have many patience for those things. So
I assume many translators will be with you right now, so we will share the same views as you, even though myself, I have a different opinion, but that's okay, very personal. I really like to get involved in the marketing process to actually prospect clients, get new clients, and I also really love the freedom of working with their clients rather than agencies, because they have their own deadlines, agencies. So there are always pros and cons. I'm not trying to take one part or the other. It always depends on the personality of the freelancer and how they work. So if you're like Sonia, you can definitely go for agencies. And yes, then you feel reassured that by the end of the month you will get paid, or you have specific number of words to be translated, and also you don't take care of administration and go back and forth communication with their clients to educate them as well. So you strictly focus on translating. But if you want the freedom to actually work on projects and clients, high-end clients directly, where you set your own terms and conditions, and you really enjoy actually going back and forth with clients or educating clients, or you really enjoy to be able to charge what you think that you're worth directly to the end client, then definitely you can choose the other path. But I'm not into one or the other. Definitely depends on the stage you are in the business, how many years experience you have, and also the personality, the character, and what tasks you want to undertake. So for me, I really enjoy, for example, to have multiple different things like invoicing, administration, marketing, prospecting, networking with their clients, being as an exhibitor to exhibition, so on. I really love that part as well. And I also enjoy translating as a part of my business. But definitely myself as a personality, because I did that when I started out, I felt very lonely, only focusing on translation and being only a part of the execution, actually, not undertaking the whole control of one project or of one client. But definitely that depends, as I told you, to the experience you have already and your personality. And thank you so much, Sonia, for mentioning that. And also you mentioned, I always like to highlight, because sometimes we talk fast and you say so interesting things. You mentioned the association, which for me is definitely a very important part when we take seriously our profession and to make a living out of this, to join a professional association, ideally in our target language or source, that depends, okay, on your background and where you are based, of course, local, the location and the clients you want to get. So association, translation association for freelancers are the best, and also association where your direct clients are, if you work with direct clients. And the last thing that I would like, I make note while you talk, you mentioned that you had a part-time job because it's difficult to make a living out of translation when you graduate, which totally, I disagree with that. And this is why I created my programs, because I really want to encourage new translators. Nowadays, there are the resources to make you work directly, okay? Make a living out of translation. And because I was there and I did the same mistakes, I thought that I wouldn't be able to make a living out of translation myself. I was an in-house translator for 5 years like you. So before I actually go freelancing and make a whole living out of translation, I was for 5 years an in-house translator myself. And I think that might be half reality, but half also the perception we've got so far from previous experience of other translators. And I really can reassure that translators, they can do that, but only if they take the right steps. So you don't need, for example, to work in sales or any other different background or profession in order to make a living. So I don't agree nowadays, at least.
But the thing is, I don't have a degree in translation. That's the difference, because if you are taking a degree in translation, maybe you are already in that mindset, and I agree, you can start living from translation. But my degree was not about translation. So when I started translating, sorry?
You have a degree in languages, literature and culture, and master's in linguistics.
Yes, and I am taking a post-graduation in translation.
Amazing.
But like I said, I was taking a degree in languages, had nothing to do directly with translation. So I didn't think about being a translator. So when I was offered that project, I was already finishing my degree. So I didn't work myself up in order to start working as a translator. That's why I had to find another job until I could be able to be.
Yeah, that's really important to share as well. So it's really different if you have a different background and you struggle with the translation industry, and a different thing when you already are a certified translator or a graduate translator and you want to work as a translator. But I can tell you now this because I see that, and there are translators with no translation background, like yourself as well, but they can actually start as translators when they get into the business. It's a bit more difficult, or if we can say it needs a different approach, but it's not something that you cannot do. And as I always encourage newly graduates, new translators, or people that they want to enter the translation business, it takes a different strategy to do that. You need to take some different steps to do that, but it's not something that you cannot do, okay? Unless you say to yourself, I cannot do it. But if you have in your mind,
20 years ago, I didn't have this.
That's why I'm telling for nowadays. That's why I'm referring to nowadays.
20 years ago was very hard to find someone that could even help us.
Definitely.
I have a colleague was my mentor at the time, but nobody talked about mentors at the time. And she was the one that helped me and gave me some support.
That's really great to share that as well.
We had no support from anywhere. We were just start working and do something.
And you are lucky. You were lucky.
Have brothers.
Yeah, okay. Maybe that time you didn't need it as well. So the years have changed, okay?
Yeah, of
All
course.
the industry has changed. So also the competition you did have back then was not the same like today. So things change, but definitely having a mentor the way that you mentioned is also great, even in an unstructured way or unofficial way, someone to help you get into the industry. So thank you for mentioning that. It's really important. So let's get into, you mentioned, okay, your contribution in mentoring. So you mentor translators in a technical field. And do you have, last question, nowadays, any preferred client acquisition strategy that you implement whenever you want clients?
I don't have a specific strategy, honestly. I just look for projects that interest me, and I apply for them, or I just get the ones from my clients, because in 20 years,
You're established already.
I have lots of clients. I like having new clients. I have every week, I try to get a new client, a new source of work, but I have the ones that are here for some time now. So,
and how do you get this one client per week?
I try to find them in ProZ. When I see a project that interests me, then I apply.
For agencies, yes, such platforms are great for agencies, and whenever you want to find clients.
And LinkedIn, I get contacts through LinkedIn. So
amazing. LinkedIn is also a great platform to get.
At this moment, I don't actually look very actively for clients. They found me.
Of course, at some point with 20 plus years of experience, you get this, of course, reward of the years that you're in the business to actually have clients coming to you. And thank you for sharing these stories. Those questions are actually the most common questions I get from my mentees and people that they start out. And this is why the initial part of our conversation is based on those questions. But let's get into our topic, because there are people. Hello, Dorota. Hello, Elena. Can you see the comments yourself, Sonia?
Yes, I can see Dorota and you can see Elena. Hi.
Elena, yeah. So hello, ladies. If you have in general any question, you two or all of you that you are watching us, please use the comments and say hello. Where are you watching us from? And of course, if you have specific questions you would like to ask Sonia, please use the comments and we will address them at the last part of our interview live here. Hola. Hello, who's the last person? Please use the StreamYard in order to be able to see your name. Joanna, hello, Joanna. So if you have any questions for Sonia on today's topic, please use the comments and we will address them, because the actual point of having a live is actually to start a conversation with all of you. But let's start with the topic. So Sonia, Code of Ethics CPD and ISO. So I would really love to know what's the difference, because we were trying to find the topic, the title of our topic, and you mentioned standards. And I'm pretty sure, and all of you are watching us, please do let me know, do you understand what are standards, or what do standards mean for you? Hello, Patricia. Hello, Joanna. Hello, Elena. What do you understand by the word standards in our profession? I would love to know, all of you. And of course, Sonia will give us the exact meaning. So Sonia.
Okay, so I think first of all we need to establish what quality is before we go and move to ethics and CPD and whatever. We need to think about quality, because hi, Patricia. So usually when we talk about quality in translation, everyone thinks about good grammar, text without mistakes, well structured, correct syntax. But we don't provide only a translated text. We provide a service. So we need to think about what quality we as translators provide as a whole, a package, not only about the text, but extra linguistic factors also. So I have a question here. No. So we need to think about that as a whole, because the client, okay, he wants us to make a translation, but he wants to have another kind of relationship with us. We have to be not only a service provider, but a partner. And to be that partner, the LSP, language service provider, he needs to trust us. And that's the first aspect we need to think when we think of quality, trustability. If we are thinking of offering quality services, we need to think and consider trustability. The client needs to know that he can trust us in every aspect, but especially, for instance, if I usually deliver on time, if I have the responsibility, okay, I need to give this translation at 10 o'clock, and I do so, the client will trust me for rush hour translations or big projects, everything. He will trust me because he knows I deliver. But if I miss a deadline, the next time he has a rush project or something important, he knows I may translate everything super, I'm a very good translator, but he cannot trust me to deliver on time. So he will not choose me because I don't offer this quality, trustability. So other aspect is responsivity. The client wants an answer. If you don't give him an answer in 10 minutes, 20 minutes, he will find someone else because he gets a project, he needs an answer. If you cannot give a long answer, just give a small one, but tell him, I'm here, I know you need me, I will contact you and don't say ASAP. That's ambiguous. At least give a time frame or say, I will contact you in 5 minutes or within an hour. But don't say ASAP. That's doesn't work. They don't like that. So responsivity is also very important. Also important is reachability. You need to be reachable. If you can provide an email and then you only go to this email at the end of the day, you cannot see what the client has to offer you. And when you go check your email, they will already have given that to another translator. So if you provide Skype, if you provide an email, if you provide a LinkedIn profile, be there, be present,
be online,
be reachable. Okay. Another important thing is about pride, not in the negative way, in the positive way. You need to be proud of what you are delivering. If you are not delivering something that doesn't let you be proud, the client will feel that. And it's better for you to be honest. And that's another aspect, pride and honesty. If you are not comfortable in that subject, you just say to the client, LSP, okay, I already did a couple of projects in this field, but I don't feel very comfortable. And the client decides, okay, I will choose someone else. Okay, I will stick with you, but you will be honest. So honest is important.
For me, it's very important the fact that you mentioned be honest. What I'm worried about, based on the question I get from people I work with, my mentees, actually they lack of confidence. So sometimes they're able to undertake a project, but they refuse because of lack of confidence, or sometimes they're overconfident. So they accept projects that they realize later on that they cannot deliver, for example, on time or of high quality, like you mentioned. So how do you suggest to deal with such situations? It's a very common issue in our profession. I really agree with everything that you have mentioned already, definitely.
That will bring me to another part of the quality, which is humility. You need to be humble enough to say, I cannot do this. I cannot, I need help. And you need to have the humility to say that, if not to the client, to the LSP, to a colleague. For instance, I usually don't do contracts. I hate doing contracts. But my usual clients, they know I'm not an expert on contracts, but they ask me, I want you to do this. You have to do this. So I do it. But then they know I always ask some expert to review my work for terminology purpose.
You ask the agency, you tell them that I ask you to have a reviewer see my translation. Is that correct?
Yes. Or during the translation, I ask a friend that I trust, and I say, is this the correct term to use here? Is this sentence okay? Should I translate differently? But like I said, the client, he knows I am not 100% comfortable, but he knows and he decides to give me the work anyway. And this is important.
Okay? I have a story to share because you mentioned that. I do that as well, so I totally agree with you. So there was an example of a project manager in the US. It was Friday night, near to midnight. They reached out to me for a project that was not the project that I usually undertake. The time frame, the deadline was really, really strict, and this is most probably why they couldn't find anyone that would be able to undertake such a project. So I told them that ideally I would like that time frame, but if you cannot find anyone, okay, please come back to me because I really want to help them. So they did make a research. They couldn't find someone available, okay, based on most probably the background that they were looking for. They came back to me, and I was very honest, as you mentioned. I'm always, humidity for me is taken, but yes, sometimes we might need to talk about things that we consider like taken. So I told them that this is not, and also in the time frame that they have, it should be reviewed by a native speaker, definitely, and also by someone else, because the deadline was very strict. And for quality reason, to be reviewed by a native speaker and someone okay with the background they had. So I had everything written in a written conversation. So they came back to me because they had comments from their clients, and I told them, did you have it reviewed by a second person? They tell me not. So in such cases, when someone comes to you and claims, for example, to pay you lower because of the client, if you have it in written that I actually undertook this project, but I have 2 disclaimers in order to undertake this and this, and you can forward the information to the responsible person, because I was talking about that with the project manager, but the person who came back to me, for example, had a different position, was not aware of the discussion. So if you have it written, you can forward the written discussion with them, so they realize that it was a problem of the project manager and in general the management, project management of the project, rather than my work there. And that saves you a lot of time, money, and also reputation as a translator, because it's not only the fact that you need to get paid, okay, or you need to have projects. The reputation for me is really important, because it might cost you not to have any good collaboration in the future.
And I'm glad that you mentioned that, because when you sign an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement, they have usually the penalty clauses. And okay, if you are supposed to deliver at 10 o'clock and you deliver the next day, or you don't deliver at all, okay, they can apply the penalty clauses, and I think they should.
Of course, it's fair enough, yeah.
But in those cases, it's different, because they cannot, for instance, I have my own style. I use the terminology I think is correct.
Of course.
If the client does not provide me with a glossary or a list with terminology, or gives me specific informations about style, if he doesn't do it previously, he cannot, after the job is delivered, come back to me and say, I will apply the penalty clause because this is not according to the style. Which style? You didn't define that before. You need to define that beforehand in order to be able to apply the penalty clauses. That's why you should read very carefully all NDAs. Many people have problems with NDAs, and that's also an important issue related to the ISO standards, because when you work with a certified agency, according to the standard 17100, they need to provide proof that they can manage with data protection. And NDAs are actually one of the requirements these companies have in relation to the translator. So the translator needs to sign one. If the translator says, I don't agree with NDAs, I don't sign anything.
You cannot work.
He may not do it, he may not sign it, but this company, which is certified, cannot work with this person, with this translator, because it didn't comply with all the requirements.
Can we take it from the start, because I think we missed the Code of Ethics and Standards, and then we went to
just a small.
So you mentioned for trustability and quality, you mentioned on time delivery, of course, responsivity in the email, reachability. You mentioned also pride, proud of what you deliver, honesty when you cannot deliver, humility. So when you need help, you need to ask for that help. Was there anything else you would like to add?
Yes. In terms of ethics, but I will get back to ethics. One important thing is also a cooperation, because when you have big projects and the LSP knows that you cannot deliver these in a week and they need this in a week, they have to create a team. And if you don't work well as a team, or if they have already created a team in the past and you caused problems, they will not hire you for this specific project because you are a problematic person. You don't work well as a team. So
work,
no cooperation, no work. I know sometimes we don't like working with certain people, but we need to work. It's work. We need to cooperate. We need to go over those things. And also, CPD, continuous professional development. You need to have this. You need to show your clients, the LSPs, that you are constantly doing so, because they need to know you have interest in quality. You want to know what is the state of the art in that moment, and you have interest in it. So if they see that you are an interested translator, they will consider you as a good quality translator. So,
and I mentioned something here. I always encourage CPD. I have like endless CPD list, but I do it for myself. I never was encouraged to do that because I need to submit to an agency. For me, this comes secondary in my list. So the first thing we need to do CPD is for yourself, to be aware of the current developments in your field.
This is CPD. What we are doing is CPD, informal, but is CPD.
Exactly, to be informed about the developments of your profession, to be up to date, of recent developments. And of course, the last reason why you do CPD is actually to be able to submit it, to an agency or an association in order to be able to be part of their team or their membership. So we mentioned CPD as well.
And now I would like to go to ethics, and we will start with the Code of Ethics.
Let's go to Code of Ethics. What is Code of Ethics? Why is it important for a translator?
I would start by explaining what ethics is. So ethics is our moral compass. We may not have written a code of ethics. We may not know what standards are, but we know that if we say, I will deliver the project at 10 a.m. and I deliver at 8 p.m., we know that is wrong. So that is our moral compass, our ethics. We know that by heart. We know what's right and what's wrong. The Code of Ethics is a set of rules specific to a certain group of professionals. So the Code of Ethics for a translator is not the same as for a doctor or a lawyer. A lawyer. So,
very cool.
So lawyers could have one. I don't know. But this is a set of rules for this specific group of professionals. And in my case, I'm Portuguese, so we have two translators associations, and both of them, they have online, open to everyone, Code of Ethics.
Another reason why it's really, really important to be part of a professional established association in your land. Another reason, the Code of Ethics, for example.
Yes, but you can find Code of Ethics for translators everywhere. Also ATA, American
But if
Translator
you are a
Association.
member of a certified association, if you're a member of a certified association or an established association, you definitely need to follow those Code of Ethics. And the reason why we share that we are members of that very well-known association is not only for visibility reasons, or actually to be considered as also, how to say that? Anyway, just for visibility reasons, there is a reason behind of that. Usually, by being a member of an association, you are strictly you're following those Code of Ethics by being a member. So you have signed, or unofficially or officially sometimes, that you follow the specific Code of Ethics of that specific association.
Yes, the difference here is we always talk about this. It's happens all the time. Translators are not recognized as professionals. So if a lawyer does not comply with his Code of Ethics, he has consequences. He can be disbarred from the order, and he can no longer act as a lawyer. If a translator does not comply with the Code of Ethics, he will probably lose that client, that LSP, but he will continue working. So
if this is reported to their professional association, they might be taken away or deleted from this professional association list if this is reported.
He will be eliminated from that list, but you can still work.
An unregulated profession, in general, it's an unregulated profession. But as I told you, reputation is even for myself higher of importance rather than the actual. So the reputation will always come first.
Yes, professional recognition. That's why we need to have quality, Code of Ethics, and then comes the standards. I think Dorota wrote here, standards are norms of a translation process, and translators should respect. Yes, of course, exactly that. There are the codes of ethics. We know the good and the bad processes, and then everyone wants to make more money. And if you want to get more money, you need to look for the best clients, the best LSPs, the best final customers, and agencies that are certified under the ISO standards, which are international standards. They usually pay better. They demand different kinds of not work, but they have lots of requirements you need to meet to work with them, but they also pay better. And if you want to apply for these agencies, you need to consider how these standards work. So I don't know if some of you are belong to the Certified Pro Network in ProZ. Yeah. Okay. So when you are a certified pro member, you have a field there that says, in my case, Sónia endorses the European norm 15038. That's an European norm for translation, because we have national standards, European standards, and international standards.
Do you have the link or the name of this norm to share in the comments now or later, Sonia?
I don't have the link, but if you are a certified
can you repeat the European norm? The European norm, the number?
15038.
Okay, yes. So we will sell later. Yeah, we will sell later.
If you check on ProZ, the norm is there. And then you have, this is only European, okay? But then they created an international norm, which is the 17100. The European norm has requirements concerning the competence of the translator, It's very important.
Yeah.
The cooperation between the language service provider and the client. They need to establish to really know what the client wants, this relation between LSP and
Thank you,
client.
Ellen. I think Ellen shared the link in the comments. So if you're a member of the Mentoring for Translators group, you will be able to find the link in the comments, as Ellen Singer just mentioned. Thank you, Ellen. Thank you for being here.
And also in terms of procedures, this European norm also provides requirements in terms of before translation and during translation. The international goes a bit further. So in the 17100, we have all of these, but in the procedures, they have included a feedback. So now we have a pre-translation, during translation, and post-translation. So the companies which are certified by this ISO 17100, they need to ensure that the client has a feedback. Okay. And also new is a proofreading by a third party. In order to be certified according to this one, a company has to have the translations reviewed by a third person, which needs to have the same competence as the translator, but he also needs to be able to review the project.
And I think that we should, all of us, take those steps. So for me, this is really, I always go to the feedback. So since I started out, I have integrated that, even though I didn't know, for example, the norms, the European or the ISO when I started out. And for me, it's really important to have it in any kind of service you provide. That feedback is for me really important. Also, having proofread your work by a third party, also it's really important. We shouldn't have someone to establish that as a norm in order to do it.
Exactly. We should know that by heart. As professionals, we should follow them. We know that. Like I said, it's the good or bad behavior. But being defined in the standards is also very good. Okay. So, and finally, this ISO standard also refers to data protection. So nowadays, that is very, very important. So the companies that are certified by the ISO 17100, they need to provide information about their processes in terms of data protection. That's why I told you that these companies usually ask the translators to sign an NDA. Without NDAs, they cannot ensure the client that the translator will not share the information with a third party. And in terms of patents, if you are translating patents, I do a lot of patents. This is huge because there are lots of money involved, big, huge amounts. And
copyright also,
yeah, it's complicated because if you are creating a new product and the translator talks to a friend, oh, you know, this is going to be launched, is being patented, and can create a problem. And I would like to remind you, sometimes we don't do that. We don't share information with someone else, but sometimes it happens that the project is too big. We see that we are not going to meet the deadline, so we ask a friend to help. Be careful when you do that, because you signed an NDA.
Yeah, whenever I have signed an NDA, I don't do that with a direct client or an end client. So this is more flexible.
But if you do that, it's a problem. Even if you trust 100% that this person is not going to share the information, there's always one risk. And the risk is when you translate with Trados in the memory, the name of this person will be there. She can erase it. She can change the name. Okay, you can hide it. But if you don't do that, when the LSP goes and checks the memory or the content related to the translation, he will see a name he doesn't know. And he says, I hired Sónia Tavares, and here is Virginia. Who is Virginia? I did not hire Virginia. Why is she not PM?
Yeah, Ellen says it's easy to remove the name. Ellen says it's easy to remove the name, but for me, it's the fact that it's illegal if you have signed an NDA that says that you are the only one responsible and you cannot share the information, even though I know some cases that you can have that other party sign an NDA with the same conditions that you have signed with the end client, but still, for me, I've never done that when I have signed an NDA with an agency. This is only flexible in between an agency or when you work as a team and you have previously informed the end client about those procedures. They were as a team.
If I see that there is some problem and I cannot deliver on time or whatever,
you can ask for a.
I tell the client, and I can provide a name if he wants to, but that part of the translation that is going to be translated by another colleague, it's not mine.
That's also another advantage of working with their clients, that if you take the precaution measures, you have a bit of more flexibility in such an aspect, whereas with the agencies, no, you need to be the only one person that you will be able to deliver on time, no matter how many hours you have in front of you. I do not say do it, neither does Mark, but he describes it how. Okay, Ellen, I didn't say that you say to do it, but because some people, they might get confused, we need to be very clear what we discuss here.
Yes.
Okay, Ellen says I resolved that issue by signing an NDA saying that I work with my freelancer, my team need to know basis. So yeah, but Ellen, you work mostly with their clients. Am I correct here? So Sonia, she works mostly with agencies. So it's totally different when you work for the end client or for an LSP translation company. And the last thing I would like to ask you, Sonia, where someone can find, for example, data protection or those kind of NDAs that are suggested by ISO standards, are there anywhere templates that someone could take a look so as to know if they're on a good path?
You can find them online. There are lots of different templates, but I also I usually recommend that you find a lawyer that can help you with that. Important is that the contract, especially the NDA, is very objective, simple, not long sentences, no ambiguity. You need to know this sentence means exactly that.
I've signed 12 pages NDAs, 12 pages NDAs in the past, or 21 pages NDAs, and let me know who reads them. And I used to read all of them, but definitely, since there is no negotiation path there, what's the point of actually if you are not able to negotiate the terms, even though I do sometimes.
You need to read. It's very important that you read the NDAs and you have a critical thinking when you are signing it, because there are some issues that you need to take in consideration. For instance, jurisdiction. Okay, probably nothing will happen, everything will be okay. But imagine that is a problem, and this company is from Brazil. If you have a problem and it says there is in Brazil, you need to go to Brazil. It's a problem. And there are certain aspects in the NDA you need to be sure they are according. Sometimes they say, I pay in 30 days. And then in the NDA says 30 days starting from the end of the month. And
or the day of your delivery, or of the start of the next month. Yeah, we know all of that. So you suggest to advise to have a lawyer, and I always recommend that as well. But if someone would like to take a look of suggested templates based on ISO that you mentioned already, are there somewhere online templates suggested by specific?
According to ISO, no, because they are not exactly mandatory by ISO. ISO standards are just guidelines for the company to have certain procedures. And in this data protection case, they have to establish procedures, and they might include the NDA. Probably there are some agencies that don't use NDAs to comply with these requirements, but they have different strategies that also work as NDAs. So ISO, about the standards, you can check online for ISO.org, and there are lots of information about the ISOs. About the NDAs themselves, it's each company creates their own. In order to
usually there are some templates suggested. Usually there are some templates suggested by association. Yes. If you're a member of your association, definitely ask your association for a template to take a look. Always we adjust them in our own situation with a lawyer, but definitely you can have a look of what is suggested, what is included, to have broad an idea of the topic and what should be included in an NDA. So you don't have any other resources to share with us, Sonia, where we could take a look, for example, or the European norm? No, they don't include any templates. That's correct.
No. And even the ISO standards, you need to pay for them to actually have access to all the information.
Okay, that's not bad if you consider to take that path and to be consistent and
in general, they tell us what they recommend, the requirements, but if you want to explore them, you need to buy them. Exactly.
It makes sense. It makes sense. Here in Greece, for example, when a company wants to be compliant with ISO, they hire another company who undertakes the whole procedure so as to make them compliant with ISO. I don't know in other countries.
Each country has a representative. Exactly. In Portugal, we have the IPQ. So they represent us. And just out of curiosity, I checked for Greece.
Amazing. And what is the Greek?
So it's NQIS ELOT. A lot, yeah. For instance, for Portugal, we have NP, is Portuguese norma portuguesa. And so when we talk about an ISO, you can say ISO 17100. But if you are coming from Portugal, you say NP-EN because it's European, and ISO, and NP-EN ISO. For France, they have the normalisation française is NF-EN ISO.
We don't have such a thing in Greece. We just have two authorities here that they are responsible.
They represent in the
main company ISO.
And Greece also has the power to vote because there are 165 members in the ISO.
In general, not in the translation business, in general.
No, the ISO standards, because everything we have are subject to ISO standards. Okay, so there is a committee, and this committee includes these 165 countries, but not all of them have voting power. Some of them adopt and sell the standards, but that they don't create them, they don't suggest, they don't vote. They just But Greece can vote and Portugal can vote.
I think Ellen, there is another one. Yeah, Ellen, there is another one. So lot.gr is one. And if someone would like to look for that, I assume online, where they could go to iso.com to find...
iso.org.
And find their local representative of the organization. Is that correct? Yeah. For me, what is really important to know, even though you're not an agency yourself, because we have a lot of freelancers here watching us, and they might wonder, why should I care so much since I'm not an agency myself? Okay, I work for agencies, and one reason why we cover this topic today is for you working with agencies, you should be aware of the whole procedure, so as you yourself to be able to have more opportunities working with certified agencies in a professional way and to know the differences. But for me, what's also additionally really important knowing the ISO process, actually, that by reading about it and learning about it, you actually become more professional in your processes as a freelancer as well, if you can implement any part of the process that is actually suggested by ISO procedures. What do you think, Sonia?
I think so. I think when we speak about ISO standards, European standards, national standards is more for companies. They want to get certification. For the translator, the freelancer, is more important the code of ethics, the ontology. That's specific for the translators. But if we want to work with these agencies, we need to know the requirements they are subjected to in order to work for them, to know, can I comply with this? For instance, if you want to work with an agency which is certified, you need to have a translation degree. If you don't have a translation degree, you need to have any other degree plus 2 years working as a full-time translator.
This is in the ISO process?
Yes.
Because you usually see that also when we apply our papers to work for an agency for a European Union tender, for example, usually they have the same requirements there.
They ask all of those things.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. You need to deliver lots of documentation, but if you have everything prepared, okay, I know I need this information, so it's here, and when I need it, it goes all together. And like I said, this ISO 17100 is exclusively for translation. There is another standard for machine translation post-editing, which is the 18587. 15587 is specifically for machine translation. And then there are others for interpreting. Okay, there are.
It makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense. Thank you so much. I really find it very interesting, the topic. Was there anything else you would like to talk about, Sonia, before we come up? Because we are already 56 minutes live.
We only scratched the surface because about standards, there is lots to discuss. We haven't discussed the other ISO standard that most translations have. It's the 9001, which provides requirements in general for quality in the translation process. But that is general for translation agencies, for any other company. It's quality in the processes.
This is really important, the last one that you mentioned. So I think all of us, we should take a look if we are translators, either freelancers. So the 9001 that you mentioned.
Quality in general.
Yeah, also see Ellen, she keeps sharing links. Thank you, Ellen. So to sum up, before we close, we talked about quality and the 9 or 10 aspects of quality that Sonia shared with us today. So if you missed the live, you can go back and watch the recording anytime in the Mentoring for Translators group, my YouTube channel, which is public, or my LinkedIn channel, or my Facebook public page. We talked about ethics, Code of Ethics and the difference between ethics and Code of Ethics, the standards in general, the norms, European and international, ISO specifically, and templates. So if you have any questions, you can use the hashtag replay and let us know if you have any questions. Sonia is a member of the Mentoring for Translators group. And one question we got here in my messenger, Sonia, is actually where we can find those Code of Ethics. So we mentioned the associations, but do you have any other resources about Code of Ethics?
The codes of ethics are in every association in every any part of the world. So Portuguese association has one, ATA has another one, Greek association has another one, but usually they focus on the same thing: competence, CPD, cooperation with other colleagues. It's always about the same things we discussed. They mention things differently, and some add some more things than others, but essentially the information is this, always about this good way to do our job.
And what I was trying earlier to say, and I couldn't find the word, and I don't know if I can make it clear, but I was trying to say that we don't become a member of an association for prestige reasons, or that was I was trying to say. Is actually there is a reason behind of being part, a more important reason to be part of an association. Code of Ethics is a real one, to be also up to date with the developments with specific CPD hours that you have taken is also another reason to be a part of an association, a professional association that actually follows all of this. Mustafa says, for CPD, is it better to get training courses in my areas of specialization or in other related careers as DTP or copywriting?
You have to choose. CPD has to be structured. You cannot just, for instance, what we are doing here is CPD. Okay, it counts. Webinars, talking to your peers, everything is useful. Everything is important. But CPD is a longer process and demands planning. You need to, first of all, explore what you need, what you are looking for in terms of CPD, what are your needs, what you need to develop. And then you will know where you can start moving to. And in terms of CPD, I would like to share this book.
Amazing. What is this?
CPD for the Career Development Professional. It's from Siobhan Neary and Claire Johnson.
Can we share later the link as well?
Yes, I can provide them. But I will provide you with the link for this. It provides valuable information about how you can structure your journey in CPD. I don't know if you can see here. You have
no, it's not very clear, to be honest.
The steps, how you can organize, how you can manage, because you need to be constantly evaluating your CPD. It's not, oh, I want to do this and I will do this the rest of my life. No, in a couple of months, in a year, you need to go back and see, what have I done? What do I need to change? Where do I need to go now? You need to reevaluate and refocus.
Exactly. And I'm repeating myself, you don't need to be anxious about those processes. Like, I need to be CPD compliant, so on. Do it in a professional way for yourself first. What you need to learn. And Mustafa, about your question, is actually, Ellen is on fire today. Ellen, thank you. Maybe you can do that for every live of mine. It says more resources. Thank you, Ellen. So what I was trying to say, you know what area of expertise you need to dig into. You know where you lack of knowledge, for example, and you will need to learn more, or you know what path you want to take and you need to learn more in that specific industry that you are not aware. So for me, first of all, before deciding the CPD, is to have a specific strategy in your business, like what you would like to achieve in the future, the upcoming years. And CPD is always a part of our strategy to grow as people, persons, and as professionals. So CPD is only a step, okay? So as to take you to the goal, vision you have for yourself as a person or as a professional. So for me, I always recommend to have a strategy day, as I call it. This is a day that we do not work with actually taking translation, but actually devoting the time for CPD, for strategy, to write down the next steps we need to take, and also our goals and what steps, and structure the goal into steps. And usually CPD is a step to reach, okay, a bigger goal in our career, and it's not the CPD itself a goal. So we don't need to be panic or to access what is the next CPD we need to take. The first thing you need to know about yourself is where you want to go as a professional. What is your goal and vision, okay, in your business industry or in your career in general, if you do not have any business. And then based on that goal and vision you have set, you find the paths, okay, that they take you there. Or at least this is how I've been doing in my business, and myself as a person. So I've taken many CPDs also irrelevant to my business, for other goals that I have at some point of my career chosen to achieve.
I would like to add that it doesn't always involve money. You don't.
There are so many free.
Always be paying for things because the internet, because of COVID-19, has exploded. There are lots of information. You need to be able to filter because there are some nonsense going on there. You need to be able to choose carefully what you want to hear. And but it doesn't always involve money. you need to share what you know, because even if you are just starting, maybe you know things that I don't know. It's everyone has always things to share. So other colleagues, Virginia shares a lot of important things. I try to share also. Everyone shares and everyone wins. Okay, it's about sharing. This networking is not just to have likes on your page, is to actually share and grow
together
and as a group. And we need to all the time, with tiny steps, dignify our profession. Only then, if we all are proud translators, then we will be respected.
And proud humans, because yes, we had a discussion on LinkedIn about also to be human and to respect each other is also a really important part in my life as well. So we need to be proud translators, but proud humans as well, by the way that we respect each other also as humans and as translators and as professionals. Thank you so much, Sonia. Thank you, Ellen, Dorota, ladies, guys, Mustafa. Ellen says curiosity is the foundation of my CPD, but Ellen, you're so curious. I assume that based on your curiosity, you should always be on a CPD. Mustafa says, thanks for the detailed clarification. You're welcome, Mustafa. Before we close, just for the last things that you mentioned, I'm repeating again myself, but I always say that the knowledge exists out there. You don't need to pay for knowledge that exists out there. There are so many courses, or CPD, as also Sonia mentioned, that you can find for free. Also, the associations that you belong most probably provide you the CPD for free or a very small amount, so as you to be compliant, okay, with the regulations of that association and to have the CPD hours that you need in order to be a member of that association. There are so many free resources out there. I have like 7, I don't know how many on my website, free resources, and I always share free resource because I am repeating myself. The knowledge exists out there. And I was a person that I used to take everything that exists out there, either free or paid when I started out, because I always wanted to know more about my profession.
Exactly.
But the moment that I actually scale up as a professional was the moment that I actually invested in a very huge amount in my CPD and was for a specific purpose. That was the moment that I actually grow. That doesn't mean that all of you cannot find the information you want online, but it's totally different. The path that we said is totally free, and this is why I have so many free resources. This is why I'm sharing all of my knowledge and generously, like here in the lives on my LinkedIn account, my Facebook page, group, and so on, to the conferences that I participate and so on. But definitely the moment that you consider that you want to grow as a business person is the moment that you need to actually take it seriously and invest, because then you see the results. And I've seen that personally. This is why I'm sharing. So thank you, says here. Thank you, Dorota, says thank you, Virginia and Sonia. Thank you, Dorota.
Let me just tell you, you said the right word. This is an investment. When we spend money, it's not spending in general terms. It's an investment because we are creating our value, and that will bring us money back. So it's an investment.
I invested in a 4-figure program myself, and I got 5-figure months after that. And when you see the value, you go and invest more. And now I'm investing like 4 figures per month in my CPD as a professional, and I see it. You get it back when you actually see it seriously. So for me, it doesn't really count the money that I spend if I see it coming in the way that I want. So thank you so much. I find it really interesting. I always wish I had more time, but I don't want. I try this year to keep it 1 hour, and we are like 70 minutes live. Sonia, was there anything else you would like to add before we close?
No, at this moment, I could have told you more about ISO standards. I do that in my workshop, but it was nice.
You have a workshop on that, ISO standards? Do you have a workshop?
About ISO standards, normalization, and I'm preparing one about technical translation itself.
Okay, so whenever you have ready the links, I would love to share, okay, in our group where we have our lives. So you will share with me the links and we will share them, okay, in our group. So
people can also add me on LinkedIn. And
definitely,
when I have news,
we will share the links in the comments where to contact Sonia directly, and you will find in the description box again the details. Also, there is your website, so don't worry about that. And we will continue our discussion in the Mentoring for Translators group, hopefully. So if you have any questions for Sonia, you can tag her. She's a member of our group, and we can continue our discussion. And of course, you can reach out directly to Sonia if you have any more questions about the topic or the courses that she's creating right now. And Sonia, would love to have you here with me again if you want to discuss only about ISO or only of your upcoming courses. I would love to have another live with you in the future.
Okay, I'll be available.
Okay, that's a plan.
Very good.
Thank you so much. It was lovely meeting you, and thank you for the great and very interesting discussion we've had. And we promise you to come back with more details in the topic, and we will go into more depth. Have a nice weekend, all of you, and Friday night, wherever you are. Here in Greece is 6 p.m. And I will see you next Friday with another topic, very interesting, which I'm going to share later on. And in the meantime, see you in our group or online. So bye-bye for now. Have a nice weekend.
Thank you all for coming. Bye.